Good morning. Top of the morning to you. Good morning. A new day filled with life. And the light overcame the darkness. Good morning, everybody. Welcome from Mexico to East Malaysia, from South Africa to Finland, from Hong Kong and Singapore to Ireland and Australia. God bless you all. What a joy to have you back in Magdala. This is the delight of today. We could make a little pun there. Delight and delight. Delight is delightful. Welcome back, Colorado and Dublin and Hong Kong. It's great to have you. Idaho, Gem State, Potato State, whichever you prefer. Here we are. Yes, it's going to be warm. It's already warm. I hear like a flock of bees, but they might just be some other type of insects. And remember, just in case I forget, we're looking right behind this tall, slender tree, the Mount of Beatitudes. And that's where we are these days with the ceremony. Oh, look at the birds! Our famous birds, the squadron of partridges, of parrots. Parrots, not partridges. So look here, guys. That's the Mount of Beatitudes right over the brush. There you have it. We can hardly make out the little chapel there, representing the 8 Beatitudes. Keep pumping those red hearts, people. If you're new to here, the experts are telling me you got to pump the red hearts, and that spreads the word to a lot of more people. Hey, this is a nice angle. The first time I did it from here. Don't you like this angle, people? It's another way to see the spot, to see this creation. You see, we got all these reflections here. Look at that light. Doesn't that do so much good for the soul? You know, maybe you guys with your hearts were the cause of the big bump up, the big rise in numbers participating. You know, spreading love blesses people. And being just caught up in our own little bubble, you know, there's no blessing spreading around. So keep spreading that blessing, people. Maybe that's the reason. I really don't know. Our people are a little bit surprised at how this sudden increase came. There we got some more of those parrots. Yeah, that's pretty wonderful. You hear the crows? They were taking the food to Elijah. But actually, you know, got news for you. He got a problem with his crows today. It's amazing. You know, I was thinking of doing something else for a second right now. Just let's walk. I'll keep you facing the sun. Always face the light. Always come out of the dark and come to the light. It's even good for the church. Oops, sorry, I tripped on the tripod. That's also poetic, tripping on tripods. Now that's a different group of birds. They travel much more slowly and they're kind of happy and singing. So people, I'm going to walk a little bit here because I want to show you something. Since you're longing to see some archaeology, we'll keep our eye on the sun as we have to come out of the dark into the light. And I want to show you something. I'm walking backwards here, so right now the traffic is light. It's still about 5:45 in the morning. And besides, there are no pilgrims. We're praying that this corona thing will be over, but in a week's time we're going to be opening the guest house. Obviously it'll be the local tourism, but we just have staff and they need a salary and they need to come back to work. So we just need to find a way to open. We need a lot of prayers that this will be blessed. Hey, you remember that's my favorite olive tree? We're just nice to see the light through it. Now I'm taking you back here for a moment to the port. We did a little bit about the port, and we're going to do another very special detail this morning about the port. We actually have two parts to the port. You see, I'm walking on this road backwards. Well, the camera is too wide now. Let me narrow it in here. So now you see I've been walking along here, and this is the other side. This is the south side of the road of the port. And so I'm going to show you a detail of the port here. Oh wow, look at that picture, people. Hey, that's a postcard picture. Take a screenshot and give credit to Magdala. When you send that to people, say this is from magdala.org. You got to go to the website and check it out. There are also interesting things down here, but I won't talk about this morning. This will be another day. Interesting structures. We've got a lot of these on the site, but we'll come back to that later. So this is the port, and I want to talk to you about one part of the port, and you say, why? It doesn't look very interesting. Well, wait until you hear the story. So this part here is what I want to talk to you about. Just flagstones, but they just ain't any old flagstones. Well, they are very old flagstones. And now we just see Mount Arbel. Oh, by the way, look here between the branches of the palm tree. Can you see the moon? It's a waning moon. It was a full moon last week, and now it's waning. You can see it's not completely there. It's not all there, people. Are you all there this morning? Look, that's the moon. And it's amazing, the sun is up and the moon is still up. So the moon has gone to bed, or it's going over towards California. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. We're at Sunrise Stroll and Chat, our lovely bougainvilleas here. But we won't go there right now. Let's go down here. Let's take one last look at the sun before we go down. And we'll be back in a moment, son, don't worry. So look at these flagstones here. I'm going to have you walk on these. Take off your shoes and your socks. That's what a lot of people do when they come here. And they walk on these flagstones. Why would they do that? Because this is a first century road. And before I go down too deep, over here behind this mound of clay, which is from the archaeology, that's what volunteers do, they build mounds of clay. Well, kidding. And then you see the trees behind there. That's the Franciscan part of Magdala. And what you're seeing here is a road that goes down through their site as well. These are the flagstones of the first century road of the port of Magdala. Look at that. And you have two types of stones. You have the limestone and the basalt. The basalt is volcanic rock. Because as I told you another day, we're living in a seismic valley in the meeting of the tectonic plates of the Arabian plate and the African plate right here. And that's why there were lots of volcanoes and earthquakes in times gone by. You know? So now, guys, take off your... Well, if you've gone to bed, you can just put your feet out on the floor and walk on these flagstones, okay? And I'm going to put my feet... I'm going to sit down the camera and put my feet out there, so I'll do it for you vicariously. Just hold on here. Let me do this. So I'm going to walk over here, and you can see my feet on the ground, okay? And now you get to see me. Hello, people. So here we are. This is first century port, and if you want to see this from the other side, then you can see the sunrise at the same time, because I know some of you love to see the sunrise. Well, everybody does. Who doesn't want to see the sunrise? Maybe some kids who are partying all night, and as soon as it gets daylight they want to quit, they're tired. You see? So, oh, there's Soter coming to say hello. Soter! She's not interested. Sorry, people. So, this is first century road, first century port town. What are they doing in Magdala? They're exporting fish. Who exports fish? Carpenters? No, fishermen. So this is a town of fishermen. In fact, I say that Magdala, I don't know if you like this, is the Mecca of the fish industry on the Sea of Galilee for this Jewish community in the first century. And guess who shows up? A rabbi. And we'd have to talk more about that another day, but he would walk behind Mount Arbel from Nazareth to a place called Capernaum. In fact, I can show you Capernaum now. Let's go and see Capernaum. And now Soter is very happy. We're going to see Capernaum. Hey, look at that light, people. This is the Sea of Galilee for everybody who's just joining us. And we're at the sunrise stroll and chat. Take a picture, people. Screenshots there. We're at Magdala in the Sea of Galilee. This is the westernmost point. If you're looking at a map, you want to find the western side of the Sea of Galilee at the widest point, and that's where Magdala is sitting. Maybe that's one reason why they put the port here, because they were closest to exporting into Caesarea Maritima. Every mile you have to walk less with a load of fish is better for the donkey or the mule. It's 2 days walk to Caesarea. Now, did you know any rabbi in the first century who worked with fishermen? So you see, that's another connection here. Of course, Mary Magdalene. Imagine if Mary Magdalene walked on the road that we were just on now. Why not? Come down, get some fresh fish when the fishermen came in just before it went to the market, you know. Get a better deal on it, put it in her refrigerator or in her deep freeze. So let's stop here for a moment, people. Hey, crows, I have a complaint about you, Mr. Crow. You didn't bring food to Elijah. That's what we're going to read about right now. Crow again? Call again? Huh. He took the message to heart. I hope he doesn't feel too bad. So, people, is this a good spot? You heard the crow? Just perfect timing. Listen to this, people. Yesterday we had the crows taking, the ravens taking the food, bread and meat, you know, nice meal, morning and evening to Elijah in the Wadi Keret. So what happens? It's 1 Kings chapter 17. Continue reading. The brook near where Elijah was hiding ran dry because no rain had fallen in the land. So what's Elijah going to do? He has to trust in Providence. He has to trust in Providence. And this is the message he's trying to teach the king and the people. But he can't just say the words. At some point I must tell you a great line Nietzsche had about that. Surprisingly, you know, because Nietzsche was not an evangelizer in that way, but he said some brilliant things. He said it's very easy to stand up in the pulpit and preach, you know, but another thing is to live it. I'll tell you the story here about that. You have to remind me in a couple of days if I haven't told you meanwhile. The brook near where Elijah was hiding ran dry. So he's out of luck. Corona hit. Well, rain didn't hit. That's what happened. There are birds. And the Lord said to Elijah, move on to Zarephath of Sidon, land of the Phoenicians, you know. That would be southern Lebanon on the coast, northwest of here. Let me point you out in the direction. So that's north. And then way over there, you can actually see over our future restaurant, you can see a hill right over there, right in the center of the screen there. And those hills, if you were on top of those hills, you'd be looking into Lebanon. We're that close. and you would be looking at the territory of the Phoenicians, of Tyre and Sidon. And this story actually shows up in the Gospel. Jesus talks about it. Move on to Zarephath of Sidon and stay there. I have designated a widow there to provide for you. There we have the word provide. But I have designated, looking ahead, providence. God is provident. After our faith in the creation, it's not done. We need to believe in providence. God is provident. We need to trust in Him. We depend completely on Him. My dad used to love to quote a line from, and I'm not sure who said it, maybe it was again Thomas Merton, "Is it by his own power the hawk flies?" We don't fly by our own power, people. We are dependent on eternal love that created heaven and earth, but not as a past event, as an ongoing provision for us. Without the light that left the sun 8 minutes ago, we would be in darkness here. And there was provision that in the orbit of the earth we would have 8 or 10 hours of darkness, and we would go to sleep and rest and regenerate. Provision, providence, the experience of providence for the harvest, for the food, for the rain, for the end of Corona, for the end of the violence in the cities, in the countries, between countries. Providence, God will provide. Remember Abraham and Isaac? Where is the sacrifice? Where is the lamb for the sacrifice? God will provide. I just love those saplings coming out of the trunk. Look at that old trunk and these saplings. New life coming out of the old trunk. And this great faith in providence is an ancient trunk of our faith, and new saplings need to come out. Hey, Mr. Crow, you stop bringing food to Elijah. Be quiet. Well, sing out your heart's content. So, I have designated a widow there to provide for you. He left and went to Zarephath, and he arrived at the entrance of the city. A widow was gathering sticks there. He called out to her, "Please bring me a small cupful of water to drink." She left to get it. And he called out after her, "Please bring along a bit of bread." He was starving. He went from east of the Jordan to Tyre and Sidon. East of the Jordan, like he was an hour by car south of here, but his car wasn't working. Let me see if I can get... There's Tiberias, you see? The buildings of Tiberias in the center of the screen. And about an hour south of here, at least that's the closest that the Wadi Cherot can be. And then he goes way up here, and you'd need more than an hour to get there, maybe 2 hours by car if there was no problem getting into Lebanon. And there used to be a train going there during the English Mandate here until 75 years ago, maybe even later, maybe it lasted longer. But, you know, that's a long walk. The guy is starving, and he says, "Please bring me a bit of bread." Like he's waiting. God is providing right now, you know. And so she answered, "As the Lord your God lives, I have nothing baked, and there's only a handful of flour in my jar." So she's delaying baking that. Why? "And a little oil in my jug. Now I was collecting a couple of sticks," and that's what I used to do as a child. We used to collect sticks to light a fire on the way to school. Every morning we would collect some sticks, and we would, the children would have turns, and we would light a fire in the school. That was our central heating in our school. And then when I was an older boy, and I was a big boy, about 11, 12, I was in charge of lighting the fire, because there were 40 children in the school. And there were 6 in our class, and only 2 were boys, so we had the job of lighting the fire. And we'd gather sticks. You know, I don't know if any of you ever did that, maybe when camping. But that was our life. I'm gathering some sticks, and I will going to bake this a handful of flour for myself and my son, a widow. And when we have eaten it, we have no more food, we shall die. And what does Elijah say to her? "Do not be afraid." You know, guys, how many times that's in the Bible? Do you really know? Hey, write down a guess. Write it down right now. Or even, hey, write it into the message. Send how many times in the Bible, send me just a number. How many times in the Bible the word is do not be afraid? Hey, I don't see any numbers coming in. Come on, Yesenia. Send in the numbers. Okay, somebody says 20, but that's the time I have left, or the time I have spoken. Okay, so how many times in the Bible does it say do not be afraid? Come on, nobody. 2,000. No, 365. There you are, Joanne. You got that. 365. Oh, Ireland got that. Very good. Very good. 365 times. That means every day we hear from God, do not be afraid. And why? Do not be afraid. Go and do as you propose. But first make a little cake and bring it to me. Wow, she has to trust. She has to learn faith. Then you can prepare something for yourself and your son. For the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour shall not go empty, nor the jug of oil run dry, until the day when the Lord sends rain upon the earth. She left and did as Elijah had said. She was able to eat for a year, and Elijah and her son as well. The jar of flour did not go empty, nor the jug of oil run dry, as the Lord had foretold through Elijah. See the lesson of providence, learning providence, learning providence. And if we want to teach children to learn providence, we have to live providence. And if we lose it when Corona comes, then we have to learn how to become trustful in God. If we lose it when the doctor tells us, hey, sit down because I've got some serious stuff to talk with you about. I just saw the x-rays. The blood test just came in. And it looks like a tumor. To be able to trust in providence. The news comes in, there was another riot. Another politician did something irresponsible in his leadership, in her leadership. Trust in providence. God is the king. God is ruling the world. Okay, he shares out the ruling with us, and a lot of people do very strange and awful things. But God is ruling the world. There's a beautiful psalm this morning. Lord, let your face shine upon us. Isn't that appropriate? Lord, let your face shine upon us. And it's a provident face. It's the face, you know, when a little child meets the grandparents and they give a little present to the child. That face of providence. Father Salvador was telling us how he'd go with his grandfather and he'd say, Grandpa, I'm hungry. And his grandfather would immediately fork out some money, you know. God is provident. And grandparents know that. They've been around long enough to know that God is provident. It's not easy to be 70 and 80 and 90 years old, you know. So we become ourselves when we learn providence, because we're loved children of God. And the more we learn providence, the more we learn ourselves. We learn about ourselves. We know ourselves. We grow into the fullness of ourselves. And if we learn providence, we can teach providence. And the providence is the second major statement after God created heaven and earth, because he maintains us in life, always, 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 no matter what the challenges are. And that's the great trust of love. I will honor you and hold you all the days of my life, in good times and bad times, in health or in sickness, in riches or poverty, till death do we part. You see, love requires a vision over all the vagaries of life, over all the challenges, over all circumstances. And this is a shadow, a reflection. And this reflection of divine love in the human heart is also a love that not only creates, but it's provident. How much creativity spouses have, especially when they're dating. They always come up with ideas. Like you see all these little stories of guys proposing to girls and they take them to the most unusual places. They're very creative. And girls are so creative. They're particularly creative when it comes to food, preparation, decoration, gestures of affection, communication, sensitivity. How creative women are. What a gift and a genius women have. To be creative with God and then to do it with the spirit of providence, to provide for the joy of others. How our society needs to grow in these virtues. Hey, that bird agrees. Let's have a moment of silence just to take that in and make a little note, a mental note that I need to come back there and spend more time with these words of the Lord. Lord, let your face shine on us. And at the beginning I showed you the Mount of Beatitudes just up from here, but now I'm in a lower spot and I can't do that again for all of you who are new with us. But the Mount of Beatitudes continues to be the place of the Gospel readings right now, for a while, for a longer period. And here we have, following the Beatitudes which we had yesterday, the gift we received today are these words of Jesus. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. A city set on a mountain cannot be hidden. And actually I'm in the wrong place here, but it's too hazy anyway. But just over here we have Hippos. And some people say that was the town that would be so evident to everybody around the lake that would have been the city on the hill. We can tell you more about Hippos another day because the time is out. But I want you to read those passages. We'll talk more about it at Mass. But we need to become that light. We need to become that salt. And one of the major DNA strands of being light and salt is the faith in providence. God provides. Let us trust in Him in these difficult times. Lord, we trust in you. We hope in you. You are a provident Father. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been wonderful again. May the Lord bless you and keep you and hold you in the palm of His hand. And that's a beautiful expression of providence. See you later.